Blues Fan Forum podcast is presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media Group. I-70 strives to bring you the best sports coverage in the tri-state area. Find them on Facebook or at interstate70sports.media.
This is Jordan Bennington, and you're listening to the Blues Fan Forum podcast.
Skating on the ice, under St. Louis city lights, where the Blues play with all their might. Jordan Cairo, fast on the attack, but defense falters, gotta cut him some slack. In rubber tones, we find our glory. His skills shine, the team's best story. St. Louis Blues, we wear the crest. In Jordan Bennington, we put our trust to the test. On the ice, we fight, and we must, for the city we love. In the blue, no we'll trust.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode 158 of the Blues Fan Forum podcast, your source for Blues news, views, and fan interviews, powered by Scooters Coffee. Blues fans can score amazing drinks like the signature Caramelicious, served hot, iced, or blended, with world-class espresso, fruit smoothies, Scoot energy infusions, and so much more. That is amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Scooters Coffee. We are Dakota-less for this episode. He is not feeling good, although I would not be surprised if we catch him in the comment section at some point this evening. We will try to kind of make this about an hour as usual, because we do have puck drop coming at probably exactly an hour right now, 6:05 now. So puck drop's probably going to be 7:05. It's not an ESPN game, so they'll actually keep it relatively on time. Our special guest this week is PJ Tallo. PJ, how are you, man?
Good, man. I like the intro, by the way. First time I've heard that one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's but I had a buddy who won a meet and greet with Jordan Bennington at one point and asked Jordan Bennington to say that. So we kind of got that.
That's awesome.
And then the music is AI generated.
Okay. I don't know how you guys got that. That's pretty neat. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, I had ChatGPT create the lyrics for me, and I kind of edited them a little bit, and I was like, oh, I want this, or I want this, and then used another AI to put it together.
That's awesome. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to be on. Thanks for the invite, by the way.
No, I appreciate it. And we kind of got connected at the watch party on Saturday. So typically this is where I kind of review how the watch party went and how everything was. But I was kind of hoping to get your outside perspective, because I'm obviously going to pump the tires of the watch party. But I think you had a pretty good time, especially walking away with some extra cash there too.
Yeah, no, right. I can take Jess for that too, though. But
right.
No, honestly, man, it was cool. They do a lot of events up there, and have some other podcasts come on too. But I think what you guys did was awesome. It showed you guys had a really good following. I think there's a lot of people that I've never seen. So that's like our home place that we go to watch all the Blues games. We live right across the street. I know Andy and Jess very well. Played college hockey with Andy, actually. And I thought it was amazing, man. I think the towel thing was cool. That was kind of came out of nowhere, but that was awesome. It was cool. It was probably recently I've seen probably the most packed as far as a Blues game, with actually doing something there for that. So it was cool what you guys did, man. The card thing I thought was awesome, by the way. Not this because I won, but in general.
The 50-50, yeah. Yeah, it makes it a little bit more fun, yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. It's different, it gets everybody engaged, and they also do their little raffle that they had, every Blues game up there. They have a raffle, start at first. If you're there at the end, they do a free raffle. So with what they do and what you guys did, I thought it was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty packed bar. It was cool to see a lot of people who have come on the podcast already, running into your guys in your group. We had the Jeepin' ladies in the back. It was pretty cool. There was a good mix of fans there. And just wanted to thank Hat Tricks in O'Fallon, Missouri again. They do giveaways every single game, like PJ just mentioned. So we won't be back there, at least this season. I won't be back there, but maybe I'll probably talk to Dakota, and if I don't know how far Dakota is from Hat Tricks, but maybe do another watch party next season. But you can always catch a game there and get into one of theirs. It looks like their giveaway included like a like a big foam finger and then a bucket with some other stuff in it, I
Yeah,
think.
so the foam finger is usually for the pitcher they take,
Oh,
but
okay.
they'll throw in stuff like whether it's they have cool little keychains, they have shirts from like drinks that come in and do like shirts and stuff like that. It's it all changes up. Sometimes throughout the year they'll do tickets too, depending mostly on the weekend and stuff. But no, it's always something different, which is pretty cool. So a lot of times they'll do a little cooler, with something on there too. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially the last watch party we did was kind of a dud. So it was kind of disappointing, and I was like, "Oh, I need to do one more. Like, I got to
Yeah,
get one
yeah,
before I leave." So
yeah. Like I said, it looked like a great turnout. I mean, from what I remember, most of it, but
yeah,
so.
yeah,
But yeah, it was fun, man. Like I said, it was pretty packed in there, and it seems like everybody was engaged, and that's the biggest thing, especially coming in. It's like it's crowd there for the game, but I feel like with the jerseys and all that, everybody's excited. Some people, obviously with Jess winning, even though I bought the tickets, but her winning twice, they all thought it was rigged, and but it's just a coincidence. That's all.
right. Which is
But
funny because Kelsey, where to go? Oh, that's Kelsey already put that card game was totally rigged. I
oh
swear.
yeah, yeah. So a couple people thought that too, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I was eventually. I think I had a couple people that was like, I want Jess to draw my card.
Well, so that's what's funny is so the first time I bought the first round of 20 and I gave everybody Jess pulled the card, and then so my girlfriend pulled one, a couple other people that I bought the tickets for. Well, Jess won. So you came around the second time. I was like, oh, I got $2 extra left over. I'm like, here, I'll pull one. I go, you know what? I pulled it. I'm like, Jess, I'm gonna put this in front of you. So just in case, and then you literally there's the one ticket I had. I'm like, cool. All right, well, let's keep it going.
All
so
right.
but yeah, it was cool, man. I mean, like I said, I think everybody really enjoyed it. I know we had a blast. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They always are a lot of fun. I know we were just kind of talking before we got on that you were trying to remember the Colorado and Winnipeg games, but you were able to catch the Blackhawks game and you kind of know that. See, I'm the opposite. I don't get to sit down during the game, so I like barely got to watch the game at all 100%. On Saturday.
So it was definitely good. It's always good when you beat the Hawks too. I don't care how bad East Side are on, but
For sure. All right. I did show Kelsey earlier. We do have Sam with us. Sam would have probably been at the watch party if she didn't live in or over near Springfield, Massachusetts. Sam is our Thunderbirds insider.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then we have St. Louis Blues hockey memes is having some fun in the comments.
Yeah, I see that too. I'm kind of looking at him like.
I had to referee a soccer game after work today, and I just got home probably 15 minutes ago. So the dogs are all crazy. So if you hear them barking, it's because they're playing. All right.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Right. All right. Let's get into some real hockey. So last couple of games since our last episode, Blues dug themselves a hole, losing to LA 2 weeks ago, losing to San Jose. So we knew coming into this week it was going to be a rough one. Sunday actually worked out as we beat the Colorado Avalanche 3-2. That was pretty nice. What do you remember from Tuesday's game in the 3-1 loss to Colorado?
It looked like Colorado was pissed. They lost to us on Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, from what I remember, most of it, man. I think at one point, I think shots were like 23 to like 4 or whatever it may be, and they just, I hate to say it, you just see how good they are. You know what I mean? Nothing against the Blues, obviously, right? But right now, it's a 2-tier team, and they just, I mean, it looks like Colorado should have probably looked both games, but it looks like they came out and was like, all right, you guys got the last one. We're going to come out and prove who we are, So from what I remember, most of it, I mean, it was probably closer than the score even says, being 3-1. But that's for the most I remember, I think, on that side of it.
Mm-hmm. So I was at the game, and I don't have any sort of playing hockey background, but I believe you played hockey, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe you can help me out on this, because I was at the game, and in the first period, I noticed that in the very minimal offensive zone time that we had, anytime we got the puck and maybe we cycled it, but it got to like our winger on the sideboard there, instead of going to the defenseman, he just automatically chipped it back in, and we typically lost it. I kind of chalked that up to Colorado's pretty good on the rush, so maybe they don't want to go D to D and lose it there and give that rush opportunity. But maybe you, like I said, I don't have any playing.
I agree. I mean, you look at Colorado's team, right? Their transition game's unbelievable, and obviously, we're going to try to wear them down. I think that's the type of team where, we kind of are. So chipping behind the net, doing things like that, and not going back to the point where you got guys like McKinnon flying up or, Nietzsche's or, whatever. That's, you want to stay away from that. I don't know. I don't know if they didn't play like they did Sunday. It was a weird difference. But then again, I think Colorado came out and, when Colorado's playing their game, it's hard to beat them at all. But I agree, chipping back to the point, making plays that way. They're coming with speed, pressure. They're dominating the game. So the only thing you can kind of do is try to slow them down, tire it up for the rushes. So that would probably be the reason why. But I think I think you're 100% correct with that, though.
Yeah, because that second period and even into the third period, it looked like the Blues were trying to score a little bit more instead of just dump the puck. But Colorado also had a lot more rush chances. And
100%.
Yeah, Hofer had to make some good saves. So
yeah. No, I agree though. Yeah, they just, like you said, they Colorado they showed who they were in that game. I think so.
Yeah, they can play good now. We just really need them to somehow play bad at the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%.
So we need that pick to be as low as we can get it. Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
All
right. So the game against Colorado, unfortunately, was an expected loss. And then Thursday, Blues play again at home against the Winnipeg Jets and end up in a 3-2 loss. Anything remembering from this one?
From what I remember, I think it was too little, too late. I think the surge in the third period, we looked great, and the whole game. It's one that you gotta. That's when I think that was the make or break. Obviously, I know that afterward, obviously whatever. But Winnipeg's fighting. When they're playing good hockey too, though. So it's like two teams are kind of fighting for that spot at that time, and a win there is huge. After especially what we did with LA and San Jose, and I thought for the most part we came out a little flat as well. But I remember the third, I think, the most. So the first and second, not so much. But the third, I thought we played well. But then, I said toward the end of the game, just too much late, So was that the game that no, that might be off. We pulled our goalie with like 4 minutes left? Or was that the Colorado? No, that was that game, right?
Yeah, this is the one where the I think the most disappointing part of this is it being Winnipeg, all like just losing to them again, but also having a power play at the end. So we had like a minute and a half of 6-on-4, and I don't think we had a shot on net. Time.
Yeah, I think I remember that. It's like at that point, just throw it. I mean, it is. I know who would you say the guys in the NHL, shoot the puck, things like that, right? But I'm thinking to myself, 6-on-4, just throw something on that. Maybe hit somebody, goes in, get a gritty goal. That changes things there. But yeah, I do remember now that you brought that up. We had that late power play and literally got nothing, nothing at all in that. So a little disappointing in the end, like I said, just, too much, too late. So it happens, game of hockey. But.
Yep. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think everybody after that, I mean, we talked about the San Jose and the LA losses being bad, but then you lose this Colorado, you lose Winnipeg, and you can kind of say, all right, it's coming. So come Saturday, we have a Blues Blackhawks game. We have the watch party, which is a great time. We win, but unfortunately, LA handles their business, and the Blues are officially eliminated from playoff contention. Three of the last 4 years now. Somehow we snuck in last year, but 3 of the last 4 with no playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, but it's one of those things. I think all of us Blues fans, it's kind of like rinse and repeat, right? It's like why these last 2 seasons wait till things start clicking till the end of the year and kind of go into that. But it's even like get off subject a little bit. Like Cardinals have always been that. It's like a St. Louis thing, just always late rush, sneak into the playoffs, kind of do well. That game, we'll probably get into it. I know we talked a little earlier about the outlooks of what we think going down the road, but we look at the Chicago game. It looked like the normal Blues that have played well, and I know Chicago's kind of going through their thing too. But as I said earlier, it's always fun watching the Blues beat Chicago. I don't care where the standings are, whatever it is. I always enjoy it. So
for sure. Do you think the Blues missing the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 seasons, does that hurt Doug Armstrong's reputation during his tenure with the St. Louis Blues? I know he'll still be president of hockey operations, but he's leaving kind of the GM spot. So he's been GM since 2010. So
yeah, To me, I don't know. I don't think so because, you got to look at the flip side of it too, right? What he did with all the trades back in the past and things happen, teams are going to go through this. We kind of knew, I think it was after what, 21 or 22, direction team wasn't going, I guess, like it had been before. And we also got to think about, the year we won the cup going in that year, we were supposed to be a playoff team. Like we were winning top, went through that. And it was kind of like, it seems like we're weeding stuff out and starting. You kind of look what he built now. Look, I mean, I hate to say it, that's where I'm getting at. It's kind of like you look at the stretch run, look at the young guys we have now, and I think that you got to look back and see what he's done. Yeah, 3 of the 4, it does suck losing it, but everybody wanted to rebuild, and he didn't really. He made it exciting still. On teams that we might not have had to be excited. Everyone's like, well, we need number 1 picks or this and that. But you look at the team we have now, and I think going forward, a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I think he's built something that in the next couple of years is going to be a good thing. And let's be honest, we have a cup while he was part of it. So it's kind of like, how do you take away from that?
Right.
So that's my opinion. Again, I don't know. Some people probably disagree, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And I did not fact check this, but I want to say in the 16 years that he's been the GM, I know we said we've been out 3 of the last 4, but I think we've been in 11 of the 16.
Yeah.
So you can't.
It's like, what do you want to criticize somebody for that? It's like, come on, man. Like, and in that time we won a cup. That's the biggest thing. It's like, how can you say anything when the guy brought us a cup? And it's the little trades that he did. I think that people look past, even something like the Shen trade and things like that he did. It just brought, guys to our team. And yeah, it wasn't like we were ever really, I mean, maybe this year you can say because of where we're at, we were never really a dumpster fire, you know what I mean, on what we had. So no, I couldn't say it would, but there's gonna be some people obviously disagree with that.
Right. Our favorite Canadian, Mike, says that he saw the Blues make the playoffs 25 straight years and only make the Final Four once. So building the farm back up isn't the worst thing. And he brought up, we have a cup now.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And well, it's funny too, is, all these people talk about, why aren't the Blues shit in the bed and this and that. And, somebody who's played, and I'm sure other guys agree, when these young kids come up and they know they're fighting for playoff spot or not playoffs, for starting roster spots, they're not thinking, oh guys, we need a tank, because they're thinking this is my job. Hopefully I have it next year, And so I look at it that way. It's like, I don't know. I think the Blues are going to be just fine. I know it's going to go off subject here, but I get rattled with some fans who are like, oh, we need to shit the bed and get that pick. It'd be great. But at the same time, it's like what I see, and I'm sure what everybody else sees. So you heard that.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, what I've seen, I'm excited about the future, so we'll see.
Yeah, I know it might have been Joe Vitale on the broadcast the other day, but was talking about how for the last couple of years at the end of the season, we started to get excited about people. Like when we brought in like Jacob Verana and he played really well in the last 20 games, or when we brought back Sammy Blais and he played really well. All these guys that were like, oh, these guys played really well, they're going to be good next year. And then they weren't. But now we're talking about, oh, we got Otto Stenberg. He's going to be really good next year.
Yeah.
Dvorsky's going to have another year. Theo Lindstein. And the big difference is those guys are first-round picks.
Well, and that 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Snugger, right? I mean, that guy, he looks like he's going to be an absolute stud. I mean, so that, and you're right. The guys we talked about are kind of more veteran guys that we had came back, and it's like you can say that, but that also might be their one last. Here, I'm done. That was I gave it all I got. These kids, it's fun to watch what they do, and they're all first-round picks. Like you're getting probably more than what we thought in some of them. You know what I mean? So no, that's a great point to bring up.
Yeah. Lindstein, Sammy Blais, kind of end of the first round. The other last time that we had 3 first-round picks was when we took Dvorsky, Stenberg, and Lindstein. Yeah. So now having 3 first-round picks again this year, that would be
it's gonna be great. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the lottery thing, depending on what we do the rest of the year. But who knows?
All right.
So
well, let's get into the lottery. Since we're talking youth, we're talking excitement for the future. So right now, as the standings are, St. Louis has the 8th best odds at the number 1 overall pick. So far, Vancouver and Chicago have solidified their position. So Vancouver is 1, Chicago is 2. 3 through the rest of it is all up for grabs. So it might actually be a good thing that the Blues play Minnesota tonight, Pittsburgh tomorrow, and Utah Thursday, all playoff teams.
Right.
I know we got all these young guys in there. They're trying to play their hardest and they're trying to win games, but are you kind of hoping for some losses here?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because I mean, Vancouver's obviously get 1, 2, things like that. You know, I saw this earlier, and I'm wondering, and I haven't checked the standings if it matters to the Minnesota game, but I was looking at DraftKings. The Blues are, I think, favored in the game. Maybe, unless I looked at that wrong. Which is Minnesota at that point where they don't really have to have their starters in?
I mean,
Because I don't know if
they're at 102 points. Dallas is at 108. And then beneath them would be Utah's at 90. So I don't think they're worried about,
right. So
they're not
that's what
worried
it's like.
about becoming the wild card.
Right.
So they're
You know,
just
unless
I
they're
think
trying to
gonna-
catch Dallas, but I think
Right.
Dallas is probably, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, yeah, I mean, at this point, since we're not gonna have a chance for the playoffs, I wouldn't mind seeing the 3 losses to kind of see where it happens, you know. And those are teams that, you know, obviously, well, maybe not Minnesota, but some of them need to win and kind of, you know, solidify their spot. So yeah, I mean, right at this point, no playoff chance. I mean, you know, but then again, it's like, you know, you want these kids to still keep doing what they're doing, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword with it. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it. Let's just say that.
right.
You know, so, you know, but yeah, I mean, so what would that, let's say we go 0-3. I mean, I guess depends on what everybody else does. I mean,
Yeah, right now, so we're at 80 points. Florida is also at 80 points, but they are sitting everybody. Seattle's at 79, Toronto's at 78. So that would probably be the most. Calgary and the Rangers are at 75. So I would say maybe if you lose all 3 and somebody happens to win their next 3, you're looking at maybe in that 4-5 range.
right.
Toronto really needs to lose because their first round pick is traded. They don't own it, but it is top 5 protected.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
They really need to end
Yeah.
up in the 5 spot so they can keep their pick. Otherwise, it goes to, I'm not even 100% sure who, but I can find out in a second. So yeah, that's kind of a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. So yeah, it goes both those two. I also look at it as, you know, this might be the time that we play our young kids, you know, even, you know, youth or whatever. And I mean, they go out there and play, say Minnesota doesn't have, you know, sit their players. They go out there and they look good. It's kind of like, okay, you know, maybe you lose a game 3-2, but we look good, you know, not
Right.
get blown out, but
Yeah.
you know, so you kind of look at it that way too.
Yeah. That pick is traded to Boston. So Boston would get that if it is not inside the top 5.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So they do need to lose. Wow.
Yeah, that would suck to have just an awful season and then not even get your pick.
Yeah, that'd be unbelievable. Yeah,
Right.
that would be.
Another pick that St. Louis has is Detroit. So Detroit was crazy enough to send us a 1st-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, a prospect in Russia, and then I believe we got Joseph Wool from him as well for Justin Falk. And crazy, it didn't work out. I think Falk's been injured and hasn't even played a whole lot.
Yeah, I know when he came there first, he I think it was like a lot of power play time, a lot of that. But yeah, besides that, I mean, he's not been done much.
Right.
I think we definitely got the good end of that. So what pick would we? Because I haven't looked at that. What pick would we get with that one?
So
I know we got first.
Yeah, right now they're at 15th.
Okay.
Alex Ferrario did some lottery math, I guess, and said that the worst that they could become is 13th.
Okay.
And then the lottery is kind of weird is if you win the lottery, the maximum you can move up is only 10 spots. So if that Detroit ends up at 13 and then they win the lottery at the 13th pick, they can only move up to the 3rd pick.
Okay. So that's
So, but you're talking about a very unlikely scenario, but still a scenario where the Blues have 2 top 5 picks this draft.
Yeah, that would be
Could
Yeah,
be
that'd
pretty
be
crazy.
unbelievable.
Right?
And from what I've seen with the draft this year, I mean, obviously you got, everybody wants to go after why am I drawing a blank? Is it McKenna?
Either
You know what I'm thinking
McKenna
of?
or Stenberg. Yeah.
Stenberg, yeah. So it's like, and I also heard besides that, there's a couple of the guys in that top five that they were like, you can really flip flop a lot of those guys.
Mhm.
So you get two of the top five. I mean, that's two hell of a draft picks if that's the case. So that would be neat. It's gonna be interesting to see for sure how it all unfolds. But you kind of, I mean, to win the lottery would be pretty great. Let me ask you that. You get the first pick, who are you taking?
Shit. See, that's so hard. Just because
Right?
McKenna is the guy. Like McKenna is the guy, or McKenna is the guy that is supposed to be the generational type talent.
Right.
He struggled off the start at Penn State. Eventually, kind of came on.
Right.
But then you have the brother connection with Otto and Ivar, and if I've said, if you get Stenberg, you can almost guarantee you have them for their careers. Like,
Oh,
why, if they're
100%.
brothers, why would they ever go play anywhere else?
Not to bring it up, I know they were different. I mean, they were twins, but the Sedin sisters. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, literally, I look at that. It's like you get these two kids, and they're both young. And I heard Ivar is supposed to be that kid. I heard is a stud.
Right.
So you get them together, you're probably keeping them for longevity for sure. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and McKenna, like I said, you said it perfect. He came out. I think the draft's tough. I think for me now, just because you look at guys like Celebrini, obviously is a freak, right? I think Bedard is good. I'm not gonna ever discredit his game, but that one pick the last couple of years, Celebrini obviously, but Bedard's like, I don't know, what's the difference of the 1 and 2? You know what I mean? Like there's kind of where you're looking at, and I don't know. They say this year is supposed to be great, so we'll see. I don't know. Hypothetical, but I think I take the brother personally.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like I would just hope that we get the number 2 pick, so we don't have to.
So we don't have to decide. No, I agree.
We don't
That
have to
would
make
be
that
cool.
choice.
Yeah. So that's another thing too, because everybody's so conspiracy theory about these draft picks and big markets and lottery winnings, and what's your thought on that?
On the conspiracy theories?
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard it.
I understand the thought process of, all right, I have this generational superstar. Like, do I really want them to go melt or like just be nothing in Vancouver?
Right.
Like,
right. Or
the New York Rangers are up there, and I could send them to New York and have them in a big market team. Like
Right.
the idea of that, shoot, throw them in Toronto, like let Toronto win it, and now like. Yeah,
or even Chicago again. I mean, having played with Benji,
right.
It's like you got to. So I hear it all the time. I'm like, I don't think it's a thing. Obviously, I think it just gets people to talk about. But
right,
it's been kind of weird the last couple of years. I think Chicago's gotten 2 of them. I think
they had the number one pick last year or 2 years ago with Bedard, and then last year I think they had the 2 or the 3, and they took Anton Frundell.
Right, that's right. Okay, yeah, because Celebrini was 2 years ago too.
Yeah, he was the number 1 pick 2 years. So maybe Bedard was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah, because I think Bedard's a year older. So yeah, that makes sense.
So who was the number 1 pick last year? Oh, Schaefer was last year.
Schaefer, yeah, and that kid, he's a stud, man. That kid's good.
Right. So, yeah, that would be crazy. We'll have some stuff up for that. The only other pick that the St. Louis Blues will have this, or at least for the first round, will be the Colorado Avalanche pick. So interestingly enough, the New York Islanders trade for that pick and a trade for Braden Shen. We get again a first, a third, I think a goalie prospect in that one, and Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah.
So we get a pretty decent return.
Yeah, I mean, on both of those, in general. But
the Islanders again are not going to make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. So it's like it kind of, so that's the thing. You look at Doug Armstrong, I think we were talking about earlier, right? I mean, it's like, he's doing what he's done his whole time. And nothing against, and I love Braden Shen, obviously, as a Blues fan, but that's a lot for me to give up, I think, for that piece. And I get why they did it, but and then the same thing with Justin Falk. I mean, I know he was going through his little tear with the Blues too, but it's like I don't mind it, so especially what we get for it. But yeah, I mean, both of those, let's even say, I mean, top Islanders at the East is pretty strong though. So what would be probably the worst that they would?
Well, so we don't have we got Colorado's
That's
pick.
right, yeah.
So I think that's why Islanders did it. Is they're like, oh, we'll give up a first because it's not ours, it's Colorado.
Right, exactly.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we just have to pray that somehow it looks like it would be the Kings that the Kings can somehow take down Colorado, which would be
they're
nuts.
gritty team. You never know.
Aren't they the only team to ever win it from the 8th seed too?
Yeah, it was that the year they beat the Blues.
I think so, when they had Dustin Brown and Kopitar
and Quick and
Quick.
Yeah. I want to say it was either the year they beat the Blues or there was one a year after, but yeah, they were the 8th seed. I think the only team ever, and
yeah,
you just got to get hot at the right time,
right?
Especially when you have Jonathan Quick making 40 saves a game too. But,
yeah, that helps.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, future's looking good. We got the youngsters. We got some picks. Even those 3rd-round picks, or you take those 3rd-round picks and you package them for somebody.
Yeah.
We've made some trades. Maybe there's some RFAs out there, but we don't own our 3rd-round pick. I don't believe. I think our 3rd-round pick is still gone, somehow related to Broberg and Holloway. What do I guess? Oh, nope. Sorry. We do have our 3rd-round pick. We do not have our 2nd.
Okay.
Our 2nd-round pick. Our 2nd-round pick for this year, we had to trade to Pittsburgh, so that way we could get our 2nd-round pick back from Pittsburgh that we had traded them originally, so then we could use it for the offer sheets. So we had to do a little trade pick gymnastics with that one.
Right. Makes sense.
Yep.
So I know we didn't talk about this. Can I pick your brain about something real quick?
What you got?
All right. So looking future here, what's your thoughts? And it's just kind of talk we've all had about shipping just for salary cap alone, guys like Kyrou and Binnington.
I believe that either Kyrou or Buchnevich is going to be off this team at some point this summer.
Mm-hmm.
I know over trade deadline, it was the big talk of Parayko, using his no trade clause to not get traded. And the talk was Robert Thomas. But I think those guys have kind of solidified themselves since the trade deadline as, no, we're staying here.
Right.
I think Kyrou is the one that makes the most sense just because the fan base doesn't really get along with him at this point. I think he's pretty checked out. I think he just needs a change of scenery.
Restart. Yeah. I've always thought, I tell people all the time, the thing that always pissed me off by Kyrou is he's got talent. You see flashes of it, and then it's like, where does it go? Is it he's a prima donna? Do you have to, bump his game up if he gets mad or upset? Like, you'll see 2-3 games in a row, he looks like one of the best players on the team. And then literally you don't see him for 10 games, So I feel like he's one of those guys, if he could get in a good market, like you said, let's say, even though they wouldn't happen, like a team like Colorado or Dallas, or, where he's got, all those guys, the talent around him, I think he'd be a huge benefit for them. But with us, I mean, it's just, I think that's where fans get mad. It's like, dude, what player's showing up tonight? You know what I mean? It's, are we going to get the Kyrou we all saw, things of, or, but yeah.
I wonder if Toronto would be a good fit just because they kind of lost Marner and that didn't go very well. And maybe you bring in Kyrou as our poor man's Mitchell Marner and see if he can kind of build that chemistry with Matthews and Nylander and be on that top line. There is a world out there that the St. Louis Blues trade Jordan Kyrou and we cheer it. And then he scores more points than like Robert Thomas does. Like, depending on where he goes, like
he could
happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's tough because I think for me, Thomas is, I'm if we would have got rid of Thomas, it'd have been hard for me. I'll be honest. I mean, that he's an absolute stud. I think, he plays the game right. He shows passion. You look at the last couple of games. I mean, him barking at the refs, like stuff you don't see, and obviously he wants to win. What's tough for me with the Blues, and everybody wants a 100-point guy, 100-point this, but same thing with Thomas. I tell people Thomas is point per player, but if you put him on like a Colorado, he's easily 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he plays with a guy like McKenna, or if you go to Dallas or whatever. And Kyrou, I feel like same thing. You give him the right market, he's going to probably have more points than he probably ever did here. So what hurts is that his contract kind of hurts to look
Yeah.
at, for what you're getting out of it, So, yeah. So then flip that. What do you think of the Benner?
So the Jordan Bennington hurts a little bit more for me just because I don't know who we have after him. Like as far as like a backup, because Hofer's a starter now.
Right.
So as far as a backup, like you're either calling up Zarenko, or I don't think Will Cranley is ready, or you're, I guess, finding a backup off of the free agent list, which probably wouldn't be too terrible to do.
Right.
But I don't know. Like Hofer is a really good goalie, but I don't think the Blues want to go with a number one goalie and then a number two goalie. I think they like the kind of 1A, 1B.
1B.
Yeah, kind of thought process. So if you can get something for Binnington, I think you do it. And it has to be this offseason because I guess goalies just don't move at the trade deadline,
Right.
apparently. But I just don't know because you would be trading on him on, well, if you make the playoffs, he can be good, but you have to make the playoffs first.
And that was my argument this year. People were like, how can you get rid of him? He's a big game guy. I go, well, you have to have a team to get him there, right? Like, so I don't get me wrong. I'll never take anything away from him. He is absolutely the big game you need to win. Problem is you got to get him that big game to kind of, he's another one of those guys. I think if he goes to, let's say like a Colorado or even let's say Edmonton, I'm sure Edmonton would love to have him. You could put me in that in Edmonton. We're going to make the playoffs, right? So you put him in that, they'll score 5 or 6 goals. And when it comes down to him having to win games, that's a perfect market for him, So my biggest thing, I'll never take anything away from Binnington, but I do the contract thing again. It's like we're getting a little bit more out of Hofer now, who we're paying way less, obviously than him. Now, again, I agree with you, is that what's that? Oh, I'm so bad with this. Who was the goalie that played at was the Olympics that we have that's in our system?
That played for Sweden?
Yeah, who is that?
Is
that him?
Lou Herrenström or something like that. He wouldn't have played in the Olympics. He played in the World Juniors.
World Juniors, that's something.
Yeah,
okay.
but he was Sweden's starting goalie. So
right, so and that's my thing. Yeah, guys like that, I think you keep an eye on them. Maybe, like you said, Cranley coming up or whatever, but it's like, if we do put somebody in, I mean, now, before I say this, Binnington lately has been great, right? But when I'm looking at him more than 3/4 way of the season, I see almost 4 goals against, save percentages and, 860. I'm like, you might as well get somebody in the waivers at that point. Not realistically saying that, but you know what I mean? Like, now, obviously, we're starting to see him again, which wait until the end of the season. But, but I can see both sides of it. Like you said, are we that team right now that's going to be good enough is Hofer going to keep doing what he's doing? But the more he plays, man, I mean, he just looks more comfortable, so we'll see.
Yeah. I think the decision to trade Binnington is a lot easier if you still have Colton Ellis.
Yeah.
The fact that the Sabres picked him up and are still holding on to him is like, man, if we had him, we'd at least know that we either have a solid backup or a future 1B, 1A type guy.
Yeah, 100%. Sabres just must love taking guys from us, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Tage Thompson.
Yeah. It's working well for them. It worked out pretty good for us too. So.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, the O'Reilly thing. Yeah, I think it's, I that's something I always joke about. I'm like, we were like, yeah, we could have Tage Thompson. I'm like, but does Thompson win us a cup?
Yeah.
Is he going to do what O'Reilly does? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? So, no, I agree with that. But.
All right. Looks like Dakota is joining us here. He says the future is definitely looking good without Benner. This is where Dakota's on the trade Binnington train. Let's see. Mike brings up that he thinks Kyrou wants out. He's kind of phoning it in. He was the fastest man in the NHL and has not shown that speed this year. That was
that was here in St. Louis, I think, right? When he won that for the fastest skater.
Was it the one in? No, I don't think he was up yet. I think that was the one in Vegas. The one in St. Louis, we had like Pietrangelo and Perron and O'Reilly. Like we had still all the old guys still.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't the one in Vegas. And I made a joke. I go, man, you think half those guys that probably do fastest skater? I go, Kyrou might have been sober trying to win it. I think most of those guys are probably like, you're in Vegas. Like we don't give a shit. But what's crazy about that is, to bring that up is a good point. Cause I go, after he won that, I wonder if that went to his head quite a bit. because he wasn't, you know what I mean? After that, it was kind of like you just didn't see it much, you know? But yeah, no, I agree with the comment. I mean, it's like, you know, you went fastest skater, even if McDavid's half skating, but if you still have that over McDavid, it's something, you know, it's like, where's that speed at? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Speaking of going to his head, though, Dakota says Kyrou thinks he's elite. His play dictates the opposite. So yeah, kind of a little bit there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. But that's what's crazy is, you know, again, you see spurts of it where he just, you know, like he wants to be there and he's got skill. But yeah, he's right. It's like, you know, something doesn't go his way. He's like, you know, my 9-year-old daughter who, you know, something doesn't go her way, you know, you can see just a completely different mood, right? You know, so I also wonder if him not playing, you know, top line minutes like he used to, you know, is also something's getting to him. And he's like, you know, in his mind, like Dakota said, he thinks he's elite and he's, you know, third line, second line. I think one game, didn't they sit him in the third period or something like that? He played like one shift, you know, but it's like, dude, that should show you, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Back to the goalies. Sam did bring up that Will Cranley has the best save percentage of the 3 goalies as of this past weekend. So he is playing well down there. I believe Sam will be able to tell me. I think he started the season in the ECHL. So he's kind of been almost on his Colton Ellis arc coming out of nowhere and taking over the Thunderbirds. So
that's awesome.
Oh, that's good for him. All right. I need to tell the people about places to buy things, and then we're going to talk about superstars here in a second. So I mentioned scooters earlier. If you guys can scoot on around to the drive-thrus on Highway 143 and Troxler Way in Highland, Illinois, or Vandalia Street and Indiana Avenue in Collinsville, Illinois, that would be our best. Those are our favorites. If you cannot hit any of those, you can check out the other 30 locations in the greater St. Louis area. That is amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast Scooters Coffee. We also have Hughes Custom Design. They're a family-owned and run small business that operates out of Maryville, Illinois. They specialize in laser-cut, hand-painted signs, and they have options that are typically ready upon request, or they can complete almost any request for custom jobs. PJ, those Blues keychains that I was handing out.
Yeah, those are neat.
Saturday. So those came from Hughes Custom Design. So he's getting into the kind of the little wood keychain business as well.
It's funny to bring that, not to cut you off. So I put it on my girlfriend's keychain. She goes, "Where did you get this thing from?" I go, you remember you were seeing them out at the bar when we were up there. So no, I thought it was pretty cool. Sweet design. Honestly, I like the wood part of it too. So it's it was pretty cool looking.
For sure. I stole one myself and it's on my keys. So
there you go.
So check out Hughes Custom Design for those. You guys can find them on Facebook. And then we also have Imprint Labs. They specialize in bringing your brand to life with custom laser engraved Richardson hats and vibrant custom sublimated metal prints. Whether you want to make a statement with high quality headwear or showcase your designs on eye-catching metal art, they deliver precision, durability, and style every time. Elevate your brand with Imprint Labs, where your vision meets our craftsmanship. So that is hats, metal signs. We had metal can koozies. They have them pretty much everything. So between Hughes Custom Design and between Imprint Labs, if you have a logo of some sort and you want it somewhere, they can do it. So check them out. And then I will just give one more shout out to Hat Tricks in O'Fallon, Missouri. Appreciate them letting us kind of take over the other day. And go check out. They got 3 more watch parties if you were going to go tonight or tomorrow or Thursday. And then you guys can check out them next year. I won't be able to. I'll be in a different state.
So if you don't mind, give it a shout out as well. Like you said, they're a great sports bar if you're out in the O'Fallon area, whether it's Blues games, baseball. They do a lot of soccer stuff too. They have great specials all the time going on. Great TV setup and everything. So if you are out that way, I recommend going there completely. So.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of bars out there.
Yeah,
that like identify themselves as sports bars, and then you go and you're like, it's really hard for me to watch the game.
100%.
Hat Tricks is not one. They got TVs
everywhere. And that, I mean, Sunday football. If you're football fans, they have every TV for every game, and you've seen it. You know, all the TVs. There's a wall that had 4 TVs all kind of connected to themselves. That all have different games on them. One big one. They probably got, I don't know, 10 to 15 TVs in that space area. You can't, anytime you turn somewhere, there's something on too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then that little TV that sits on that fridge that's always
Oh
playing like
yeah,
old movies or whatever.
the VCR TV. Yeah,
Yeah.
they got a whole collection of old VCRs, and it's most of them are sports movies and stuff like that. But it's funny, you go in and watch. You'll have Happy Gilmore's on the TV, or just old stuff, and it's funny. A lot of people request movies on that more than you would think. So
Really?
it's hilarious. Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, great place though.
All right. Kelsey, who came on the podcast a couple weeks ago and she was at the watch party, says Hat Tricks was great. I've gone to many a random bar looking for New York Jets games. I'm sure that's not easy to find, but I bet Hat Tricks will have it on for you.
So they have the Sunday package. So you go in, they literally have every single game, Jets, whatever it is. They're good at requesting it. As long as you get there early enough, if you're by a TV and you go to the bartender and say, hey, do you mind putting it on here? And you're typically there first, they're going to put it on TV, in sight for you to see. So yeah, they kind of cater to, the people that are there and doing that stuff. And, they're really good with all that. So yeah, definitely check them out if you're looking for a Jets game again.
For sure. All right. At the watch party, this was like maybe third period-ish. We were getting ready to go. PJ came up to me and he goes, I got a question for you. I got an NHL question. I was like, oh God, someone thinks I'm smart for some reason. So we had to go answer this. And PJ, why don't you go ahead and tell the people what your thought process or what your question is?
Yeah, so now I gotta after I talked about that. I called my buddy who and I always get into, and I think it's finally the first time we've talked sober about it. So I get why he said what he says and what I say. So the question's always been, how many actual superstars are in the league? Not all stars, superstars. Well, my answer is always, when I look at a superstar, I look at somebody that, I don't care what team you put them on, they're going to make a difference. Well, I found out today he was talking about fandom superstar, meaning like how big is their actual name. So I think that's where the argument always got, where I'm like, no, I look at guys in each other as a superstar. Like, I personally will say, I think there's only 6 to 8 actual superstars in the league. He's like, well, there's like 20 or 30. And then we were talking today about it. So for me, and again, my question to you is, when you look at a superstar, and that's what I was what is your opinion? Like, when you're watching the NHL or you're watching games, what's your opinion of a superstar?
So I think I was more leaning your way. I was going like, who is the hardest players to play, or who is the person that, is the best in the league at like everything that they do.
Yeah.
And so the easy answer we talked about is McDavid, and that would have fit either one.
Yeah.
But I wonder if
go ahead.
Like a Brady Tkachuk is probably an all-star,
mm-hmm.
but a superstar in the way that your buddy was saying it.
And that's where we're getting at, and I love the guy, and I grew up playing with him. Like, if we're talking about fandom, you kind of look at guys even like Pat Maroon, right? I mean, realistically, I know in St. Louis he is, but look what he did, 3 cups, 3 in a row, and some people, for name-wise in the NHL world, would know who he is, but that's where I was like, and then there's levels of it, I'm like, for me personally, if I had my superstars, I'm thinking, and problem is 4 of them are on 2 different teams. So I go McDavid, Drostel, McKinnon, Makar, Crosby over his career. I think Ovechkin over his career, and Kucherov. Outside of that, because you put those 7 guys, it's hard for me to almost, there's borderline, like Celebrini, for example. I think this year is an absolute superstar, but I look at longevity in their career, So right now, do I think he's going to could be that superstar? Yes. So that's where it's like the argument always goes. So then you get guys like, borderline players are like, well, Kaprizov's a superstar. And I'm like, but if I look at those 7 guys, do I think Kaprizov's in that group? Like Kaprizov, what I mean? I for me, no, you know what I mean? So that's where it's like, it's hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're almost like, your superstar is like that generational talent. Like that's kind of what you're. And if you say that, like, for some reason, the difference between superstar and generational talent, you say generational talent, and I'm thinking that's like 4 people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. And then that's where I look at the superstar. And I guess, I see why he always argued with me. He's like, oh, there's like 15 to 20 in the league. And I'm like, no, I don't see that now. Do I think there's a lot of all-stars? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, But when I look at generational talent, are we going to, now I look at the kid from the Islanders, as far as that, I'm like, okay. I mean, same thing, right? But then I think there's a big group of all-stars, you know what I mean? Like, I think Robert Thomas is an all-star,
Mm-hmm.
I think, Kaprizov, you look at, and this, I was actually looking at it, and I'm never a stats guy. Probably the most you don't hear talked about guy that's been good for years, that Pastrnak.
Mm-hmm.
Pastrnak, I was looking at that. I'm like, man, I mean, he's kind of, on that middle level, So I was just curious because I want to start going out to more people and like, hey, because now that he said it the way he did, I'm like, I outside of sports, I guess I can see like Taylor Swift, superstar, right? Like the name and like stuff like that. But
Yeah.
when I think of sports players, I think of like skill level when I think of superstars, all stars, and so forth and so on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like if Dakota's still in here, I'd like to get his what he would consider one.
All right, I'm trying to see if you guys are listening, if you guys can come up with anyone else that you think would fit in the like superstar / generational talent pool. Kucherov was one that I know we did not talk about on Saturday. That did pop up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Kucherov for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Besides that, would you throw Malkin in there?
So that's another name. It's tough, right? Because I look at is Malkin and Crosby the same as Dressel and McDavid? I mean, you can kind of put them there, but I think there's a big gap still, and I do think I just read one of the comments.
Yeah.
Did you give me a run for my money? I've met my match. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sorry.
I think just because you know your stuff is
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Beyond the sport. So Kelsey agrees, no one beyond the sport, right? So that's where I think my buddy, he was in that way, right? So it's like because you could name, I mean, Bedard would be a superstar. Going depending on where you go. I mean, there's a lot of name superstars compared to I look at his skill. But Malkin, man, he's a tough one. It's funny because you brought that up because we were literally talking about him, and I'm like, I don't know. That's one I'm like, I could see it. Yeah, about him in superstar, but it's like then you got to throw other names in there that are in that category. You know?
Right.
So and then obviously people are like, well, you look at these guys' stats and you look at Ovechkin stats, and I go, well, the reason I think Ovechkin's a superstar is you take what he's done his whole career as far as like the type of player. He's a goal scorer, but he'll also go have 8 hits in a hockey game. He'll if he really not that he ever fights, but that's a generational player that you don't see. Austin Matthews isn't going to do what Ovechkin ever did as far as like that type of game, right? So that's where I put him in there. But yeah, I'm sticking to, I think mine would be Ovechkin, Crosby, Kucherov, Makar, McKinnon, Dressel, and McDavid. I think would be mine.
The top one.
Yeah.
And then that next level would be like that Pasternak, that Malkin.
Yeah, Malkin, and you look at the guys like that. Bedsy, I think he's even an all-star. Guy that I really like, but like Mikko Rantanen, I think he's another. I mean, that dude's an absolute stud. But then you get like the Robinsons from like Dallas has, I don't know, 3 all-stars, 4 all-stars in one team. So it's like, but you take McDavid, and I even said this why McDavid's above everybody else. I think there's no comparison to McDavid to anybody, and I bring up Team Canada. McKinnon is an absolute stud, right? I don't think he even stuck out even close to what McDavid did, even watching the Olympics, So, but that's where I look at it is you put all those guys on Team Canada, you have a lot of all-stars, and then you have your tier of like, okay, even on Team Canada, these guys were something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get the best players in the world playing on one team, and you're still like, sorry, we're going to double shift the first line because like they're just that good.
Yeah, you got guys like McDavid, like I said, he's out there playing, 26 a defenseman type game. You know what I mean? It's like you're tired is better than the second and third line of who we got. But it's just like, but it also teams you play on. We talked about one guy we brought up. You said Austin Matthews, right? And they go, I think Austin Matthews was on that path, but then you took Mitch Marner away from him. And now you see the decline of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when Dressel's out, McDavid's still, there, and vice versa. I mean, he's not as good without McDavid, but he's still a takeover game. McKinnon's the same way, So, yeah, it's a funny argument that I think I would love to hear like more people actually talk about. Like, what's your thought of a superstar?
Where's that line end? Like where you're cutting it off at?
Yeah, and then when you do, if you look at it as talent wise, how many people do you actually have in there and why? So that would be my here's my question. I meant to ask you this. In your opinion, who was the last Blues superstar we had?
You could say Ryan O'Reilly for 1 year.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't even think I can go Tarasenko. So I think it would have to be Hull or Pronger.
Yeah. So that was that. I think Brett Hall was probably because I look at Pronger, right? Pronger was good at what he did. And I think he was an all-star. Yeah. I think Pronger's name was no more because of like the style of game he played. He was just an asshole. And he was on a lot of good teams, right? Or, NHL, I think he won a cup with, was it Anaheim? I think he won a cup with, I believe. But every team he went to, he was, everybody talked about him, but that's where that name difference between skill.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, again, I could be, everybody's got their own opinions. I think Brett Hall was our real last like actual superstar we had.
Right.
And I love Vladimir Tarasenko. Obviously, you got guys that, scored, whatever they did and, O'Reilly's and stuff like that, but pure superstar. I'd say Hall, maybe McInnes even before that, maybe. But I don't even know if I put McInnes there, and he was an all-star for years,
Right.
So yeah, Mike said Hall too. Yeah. So
yeah, Mike's on Hall, and Mike would have he's our Canadian Blues fan, born and raised in the Toronto area, but loves the St. Louis Blues, and he knows he knows his stuff about the St. Louis Blues too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you could say Wayne Gretzky.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, for the sport, although he did give up the goal that I think crushed all of us as kids.
Yeah.
But let's not even go there, huh?
Right.
Stevie Y from the point. Yeah, that still haunts my dreams. Man. But yeah, no, obviously, if you look at just jumping on a roster, yeah, I mean, you can't, So, but yeah, I think it's a fun one to talk about though.
That is it's a good conversation starter. Like it's got your people are going to talk about it for a while.
100%.
All right. I think the only thing that we had left kind of on our agenda to talk about is with the Blues not making the playoffs. This time next week, the playoffs will have started. I believe they're scheduled to start on Saturday. So whether there's games on Saturday, and I think Saturday and Sunday would be most likely. So we kind of need to come up with a decision on what the Blues Fan Forum podcast is going to do. So in the last few years, last year we made it. So we were obviously continuing with that. And then once we lost in Game 7, we kind of just quit until the off season.
Right.
But the year before that, when the Blues did not make it, we kind of jumped on the Florida Panthers bandwagon. We said, obviously they're good, so they have a good chance of making it pretty far. They had the Matthew Tkachuk. They also had Tarasenko. They had Mikkola, so there was a St. Louis Blues connection there. And then it was just nice that they were on the Eastern Conference and it wasn't a team that we hated. So
exactly, yeah,
that kind of worked out. So yeah, we jumped on their bandwagon and rode that all the way to the playoffs or to the Stanley Cup, which was pretty sweet. So we kind of need to make that decision now because Florida's not going to make it. We're not going to make it. If you had who is your bandwagon team for the playoffs going to be?
I got two, and my reason of always picking bandwagons for like. Okay, so I got one from each side. So, and I know one, there's not a chance. The other one, you never know. But like, I would love to see Kopitar win another cup before it's his last year, right? So, like, I would be, hey, I want the Kings as an AC, that storyline because Kopitar's last year. I think he's retired. I believe he said. I would love to see that. Personally, I still want McDavid to win a cup, and I know they're a Canadian team, but anytime that Edmonton's in it, I'm like, this guy literally deserves a Stanley Cup. And even the years that Florida, last year with Florida. I wanted McDavid to win a cup. Like, that's just as the player he is. And it's funny because everyone's like, why? And I'm like, because there's people out there is like, oh, how is he going to be one of the best of all time? Well, just win one so we can shut that conversation up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me personally, I'm going to go, I'm an Edmonton guy just because of that reason alone. And they're on the east side. I don't have to worry about, Western Journal like we talked about too. So, but that would be my team.
Mm-hmm. I know Edmonton has not been one that's popped up. We've kind of been throwing this out here the last couple of weeks as it was looking more and more likely that the Blues were going to get eliminated. And kind of like the comments are saying, Buffalo seems to be the go-to. Sam did say, and we probably will do this if we might still jump on an NHL bandwagon, but if the Thunderbirds are in the AHL playoffs, we will still kind of cover them and talk about them. So that's a good one.
I'll start watching them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll jump on that with you.
Yeah. So we'll kind of do that. But I do think I sort of made the executive decision.
If it's Buffalo, because I'm on the cast, I'll roll with Buffalo with you guys.
Yeah. So we'll probably be the Sabres fan forum moving forward.
Yeah.
I did luckily get into a Facebook group that is run by a guy named Josh, and just kind of shot him a message and said, told him, typically we would follow the Blues. And he goes, that's a really cool idea. So he let us in. I joined another group and nobody was responding to me. So I just made a post. Like, I like to DM the admin so they know what's going on, so they don't think I'm not trying to sell anything. Like, there's
of course, yeah. You're trying to get more views for their team,
right?
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean, like it's
And so I made a post and they just immediately kicked me, and I'm like,
wow,
the heck. So I'm like, okay, out of that group. But luckily I found a group that seems like they're pretty cool and pretty chill. So
cool.
Hopefully coming up starting next week, we will be on the Sabres bandwagon, and we'll have some Buffalo Sabres fans here.
I'll jump on it with you guys. I'll do the whole thing with that. Now if they lose, I'm back.
Then you're going to Edmonton.
Yeah. But just because I'm on here, I'll definitely jump on that bandwagon with you guys. So.
All right. Well, PJ, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight before we get to
I appreciate it. Obviously, there's a couple other things that, in the future, I'm sure, it's been fun being on here. And I guess my one last question is, it's a coach question for you. Jim Montgomery, was he the problem, or do you think it was a team thing?
I don't think he was the problem. There was multiple episodes where I brought up, I was like, all right, at some point, do we have to blame the coach? Like, because it always came out that he's safe, he's secure, but we just kept losing. So I was like, is there at some point that we need to blame the coach, and get rid of him? And so I still don't think he's the problem, because it works at the end of the year for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, and I look at the longevity, what he did, in Boston, the years he was there, and I think he's great. I think the trade deadline weeded out. I wouldn't say Shin was ever a problem, but there was a couple of guys that were like, okay, now we got our young kids coming up. You got Jim Montgomery, who I think is a great coach, coaching these young kids who aren't, how I get guys like Kyrie, right? They're stuck in their own, right? You don't want to be changed. So he can coach them and create what he wants kind of going forward, his style, with these kids who are going to listen, you know what I mean? And I think we see that, you know what I mean? So I just had a lot of people that are like, I talked to Montgomery, it's got to be coaching, And it's like, okay, trade deadline goes away. We get rid of some veterans, not saying there are issues, but sometimes you get stuck in your way of how you want to do things and how you play, and you're losing and don't want to listen. Now you got guys that are like, all right, we want to win. That's all we want to do, and this guy, he's been part of teams that have won, obviously, so that was really all I got with that one, though.
All right. PJ, I appreciate you coming on. Told you guys, Scooters, Hughes Custom Design, Imprint Labs. Go watch a couple games at Hat Tricks, whether you're catching one of these last few Blues games or checking out some St. Louis City Cardinals, Battlehawks, whatever it may be. PJ, I'm going to have you give me a big Let's Go Blues here in a second. But once I do, don't leave yet. I got to make sure everything gets uploaded, and I forget to tell people that. So, all right.
You're good, man.
PJ, give me a big Let's Go Blues, and we'll get out of here.
Let's go Blues.
All right. See you, everybody.